Hello, I'm Bill Golden with DefenseCareers.com and USAJobZoo.com. And what I want to talk about today is starting out your careers in the defense industry. Now, much of the advice I give should apply to almost any industry that you decide to go into. A quick commercial. We run a number of websites to help you find your next great career. USAJobZoo.com is our commercial industry website, although you can find defense jobs and government jobs from a variety of sources on USAJobZoo.com. If you're looking for a career just in defense, then DefenseCareers.com is for you. We have opportunities across the USA and in 28 countries worldwide. One of the nice things about USAJobZoo and DefenseCareers.com is that it operates as a blog. So there's tons of information that, on industry, contracts, what's happening, who the winners and who the losers are, and the many opportunities that are waiting for you out there. Both USAJobZoo.com and DefenseCareers.com are part of the IntelligenceCareers.com network. So let's talk about breaking into industry. Let's begin first with, who are you? What are you? What is your experience and what is your education? There is a difference between being ready to go into a new career or to begin your career and wanting to get into a career field that you're not quite ready for. Not being ready for it means you don't have the education, you don't have the experience, etc., etc. You need to, things have to happen to make all of this come together. And when you're looking to jump into a career field or switch careers, there's a couple of things you need to think about. Are you looking for a job or career? And this is very important. If you're just looking for a job, recruiters and other people can sense that. Looking for a job means you have bills to pay and you'll do what it takes. Now, there's nothing wrong with that if that's your situation, but you need to think about yourself as being career-minded. And that comes off to a lot of people in the way you carry yourself and the way you phrase things. And I'll save that for another edition to pursue it, but we're going to talk just a little bit about that through here because I want you to focus on finding your next career. That goes back to job or career. Do you need employment now? I know in today's economy there are people who really do need to find a job now, whether it's part of their career path or not. If you can, I would encourage you to stay focused, to focus on career, and to look at it as this may not be the week where you should take whatever comes along. You should stay focused on finding something that meets your career goals and your education. For better or for worse, many employers are saying, yes, they have job openings, but you know what? They can't find qualified people. Now, education doesn't mean just having a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree. Education can mean certifications. In some cases, education can mean that you have trained yourself to do certain things, in which case employers will make leeway or provide tests to see if you are ready. One of my very favorite companies is BAE Systems, and you can find them on the internet at BAEsystems.com. And one of the reasons they're one of my very favorite companies is they are one of the very few companies, whether large or small, that have 4 education requirements for every job, or almost every job that they have listed on their website. They will trade experience for education. You're not going to find that very often. Other career considerations are, do you want to travel? Do you have a family? Do you have a U.S. security clearance? Because, and this video is about breaking into the defense industry. And sometimes breaking in the defense industry doesn't mean that you're new to the defense industry. You could be military, and you could be looking for a position on the private industry side. You could be federal government or some other form of government looking for employment on the private industry side, or you actually could be industry looking for an end to government. But my comments today are focused primarily on those looking to break into industry. Whether you're absolutely brand new to the defense field, or whether you're looking to cross the street into a new field. So, U.S. security clearance, do you have a family, do you want to travel? Your education, your experiences, all comes together because one of the most important things to remember about the defense industry is there are very few open doors. Defense employers look for people who are ready to hit the pavement running. That means no training, no bringing your skills up to speed. They are looking for people that say, yes, I'm going to sign on the dotted line that I would take this job, and you just let me go. I don't need to be told what to do because I know what to do. So if you're looking to break in, that can make things difficult, which means that you need to think about this carefully, whether you're new or experienced and looking across the street to another field. You need to plan your career like a military campaign. Now, I know if you're not military, that sounds kind of, isn't that a little bit over the top? And it's really not. It is a challenging career field, and to stay viable in this career field, you constantly need to think about today, tomorrow, the day after, the environment that you're in, the skills that you bring. And so my recommendation is that you think about your career as a military campaign, which requires that you know your objectives, that you know yourself, and that you have a plan. Because there are unique challenges, and you should set an immediate goal, a 1 to 2 year goal, and a 5-year goal as to where you want to be. Often employers will often ask, where do you see yourself in 5 years? One of the most common wrong answers is, this seems like a great company, why not here? And that really is a bad answer, because that's focused on a job. That's focused on job security. And the defense industry really is not about that. The defense industry they provide subject matter experts to the government to do various things. And when those things go out of trend or the company doesn't get the contract, they're looking for the next batch of people to come along that can do what needs to be done. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have a future. It means that you may not have a future with that company, and your future is following that contract. We'll cover that in another video, how to always stay employed as long as you keep your professional self together. But planning your career like a military campaign. And four of the things that intelligence analysts do is they look at everything as having 4 components. Now, we call this SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. SWOT. Everyone has strengths. Now, your strength could be education, it could be very unique opportunity, and when we look at weakness, it could be you could set up a server. You are absolutely one of the best network administrators around, but you know what? You don't have a network certification. So if a contract comes along that says all network admins must be certified, guess what? You have a major weakness. Now, you could be better than anyone else in the field, but no certification, no job. So you need to stay on top of what are requirements and where are things going in your career field. Other weaknesses could be let's say you're a translator, a linguist, and you're working for a company, and now this company gets a contract to work for the federal government to do translation, but the contract is purely a Department of Defense contract that requires all linguists to have a DLPT score, or Defense Language Proficiency Test. That's a major weakness if you don't have it, because you know what? If you don't have it, you're probably not going to find a way to get it. That's administered only within government channels to linguists that are currently working in the career field for the government. Very difficult to get. Opportunities. So let's say you are a linguist, and because you don't have a DLPT score, or you are a network administrator and you don't have that certification, you need to think about opportunities to do other things, because there are plenty of people who want you and need you, but how do you identify them? And if you're not keeping a list of companies at all times that need you, and I'm very serious, you should keep a shopping list. We do a survey every so often that says, if you were to lose your job today, name 3 companies that need you, or 3 organizations. Surprise, surprise. You know, people currently working within the defense industry, we find that only about a third can name 3 companies. Over 2/3 cannot even name 2 companies. It's a challenge. You need to do your homework, look for the best, work for the best, but assume that the worst can happen. And it is our perspective that late 2012 and 2013 are going to be very, very challenging times within the defense industry. And we have been at this since 1997. I've been in the defense industry since the mid-70s. But as a company, we've been at this since 1997. And we have never seen a time period as challenging as what we believe we're getting ready to go into during summer 2012 and throughout almost all of 2013. Threats. Threats are just that. Threats could be, hey, guess what? The defense budget is kind of loopy. Congress is slow to put together a budget. There are things which could cause the president not to sign it. That drags it out. Threats are your company is living on the edge financially, and anything that causes a contract to not come in on time could cause the company to go under, or your department. And we see this even in the largest of companies. So when you work for a defense company, even though it's one of the mega companies, the money flow generally affects only particular departments, because it's not money coming into the company, it's money by contract that comes into a division or to a specific effort within that company. And companies don't spread the wealth, as it were. So it could be that the company is doing fine financially, but the contracts that are feeding into your department have trouble. The company is not going to move money over from other contracts. That's somewhat Darwinian, but that's just the way it is. So a threat could be all kinds of things. And again, my earlier examples, let's say that your company wins a contract, but the contract requires that you be certified as a network administrator, or you have a DLPT score as a linguist, etc. So certifications and new contract requirements can be threats. Stay aware, always, always, and you know, corporate loyalty is one thing, and you should always show respect to the company you work for. But every morning when you wake up, you should ask yourself, if I were to lose my job today, where is my next opportunity? And you should begin planning for that. Security clearances are very important, and you may already have one or you may not. If you don't have a security clearance, or let's say you have a lower clearance and you're looking to upgrade your clearance, here are a few things you should know. You should be a U.S. citizen. Depending upon the clearance, this is not always a requirement. Within the Department of Defense, it's almost always a requirement, and by almost always, I would say 99.9%. There are always other things that, waivers, etc., that happen. If it's the Department of Treasury security clearance or some other clearances, other nationalities are eligible. So you need to know the contract and be prepared to understand what the parameters of security clearance requirements are for that contract. Generally, with a security clearance, there should be no history of mental instability. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't have had depression or something. The question will come up, if you have had depression, have you sought medical care? And is there evidence that you're following the doctor's orders? Are you taking your medicine when you should? Are you going to counseling? Whatever it is, as long as you can answer those questions, you can probably get the job without an issue. Because, life happens. What employers and what the government cares about is if you're not taking care of yourself. Because if you're not, that poses a security hazard for the government. No financial instability. Now, this doesn't mean that you've had a perfect life, but you shouldn't be having checks go wrong. Get overdraft protection. You should not have had a bankruptcy, but if you have, be willing to explain that, and you need to be forthright. Don't try to shade the truth. Be forthright. You may have had a small business. You may have had a family member get ill. Medical health issues cause just over 6 out of every 10 bankruptcies in the United States. You need to, if this has happened to you, you need to be able to address this issue looking someone straight in the face and whatever documents are needed, because you're not a security risk per se. If you're forthright, this is not something that you caused through financial mismanagement. So financial stability over the last 7 years is very important to get a security clearance. You should have had no history of drug use. This doesn't mean that if you had a good time in college and a couple of parties, that's going to permanently prevent you from getting a security clearance or getting into the defense system. But, if you forego it now, you don't have to explain it later. And you should have no close and continuing relationship with foreign nationals. Now, there's a couple of ways to think about this. One of the most common interpretations of no close and continuing relationship with a foreign national means that you sleep with them. You have sex with them. Could be a girlfriend, could be a wife who's not a U.S. national, and depending upon what country she comes from, that can be issues. But close and continuing can mean other things too. It could mean a pen pal that you've had for the last 5 or 6 years, maybe a couple times you've taken a vacation. If you've been military or you've gone to college. My wife, for example, has a pen pal right now that she's known for almost 30-some years. And occasionally there have been trips. These things just need to be explained, and you will need dates, etc., etc. There is paperwork, and as long as you can explain it, there should be minimal issues. Sometimes foreign nationals from certain countries where we're not able to verify information, or who really knows. So there's a list of countries, and your security officer can help you with that. Generally speaking, though, just be forthcoming and they will let you know right up front. Your first security clearance. Now here's one of the biggest challenges that people have. Especially I meet college students or young people under the age of 30 and they say, I'd really love to get into defense, but I can't seem to find the front door. And my first question is, have you ever served time in the military? And many of them will say, no, I haven't. And I'll ask, have you considered the military? And they go, yeah, I've thought about it, but I really rather do this without going into the military. Look at the numbers on your screen, please. Let me ask you this way. If I were to tell you, I'm going to sell you a lottery ticket, but unless you buy it from that store, you only have a 25% or less chance of even winning, and would you do that? Would you buy that lottery ticket from somewhere over here if I told you buying it from here increases your chances? So please look at the screen. The military service is the basis for about 3 out of every 4 security clearances held by people within defense industry. Why? Because when you get a security clearance, it takes time. If it's a secret security clearance, it could take as long as 6 months. I mean, often it takes less, but it can take as long as 6 months. If it is a top secret security clearance, it can take up to 2 years to be fully vetted. It can take up to 1 year to be able to get the basic clearance, the interim clearance in place, and there are challenges. Employers are not going to hire you based upon you being able to do all the paperwork, but you don't have a clearance. Now, federal contracting rules often say that a percentage of the contract, they will sponsor people to get security clearances. Often it's 10% or less. So the chances of easily finding a way in the front door is very challenging. Defense industry, we find about 12% of the people who got their very first clearance did get it through the defense industry. These are usually engineers or high value individuals, or these are people who got hired by doing other jobs that did not require clearance, and along the way someone said, hey, since you're already on the payroll, we've got this great opportunity. How about doing this paperwork and we're going to help you get a clearance, and they move you over. From government service, only about 6% of people within the defense industry got their clearance through federal government service. We find that many folks who are federal government employees just never ever cross that street. And about 1% got their clearance through other means. These could have been college graduates on internship programs, or it could be a professor or an engineer that was on a consulting contract. The bottom line is military service goes a long way to helping you get to where you want to be in your career. Let's talk about education. Education matters within the defense industry. Many of the contracts that defense companies have state right up front, this percent of your workforce will have this degree, and this percent of your workforce will have this degree. And if it's a scientific or engineering or test contract, then a percentage of those will even require a PhD or a doctorate degree of some kind. The workforce, as you can see on your screen right now, for bachelor's, master's, and PhD, if you think about, add these three together, so at least or approximately half of the workforce has a bachelor's degree or higher that works in the defense industry. It's a very well educated workforce. Now, if you don't have that security clearance or you don't have that advanced education yet, how do you find some front doors? Here are a couple of things. Identify organizations that have secret jobs, where the job announcement says, if you meet these technical qualifications or you can do these things, a secret clearance is needed. Now, you may not have a secret clearance, but the chances are pretty good that, depending upon the current hiring level and the need, that if an employer wants to bring you on board, that they can do the paperwork to get you a secret. Often that is almost never true for a top secret. There are some times when it is, but it's very rare. But if you're trying to find your way in the front door, look for companies having secret jobs. And apply to them. Even if you do not have a secret clearance, apply to jobs requiring a secret if you meet all other requirements, because there is a chance, a fairly good chance, that you will be considered. Identify organizations that have dual-use technology. So a good company like that would be something like a Boeing or a Lockheed Martin, or they have both commercial and defense contracts, commercial industry contracts like a SAIC or a CSC, and there are many other companies along these. And by dual use or commercial services contract, what I mean is this company provides things to commercial industry, so they have a reason to put you on the payroll. Once you're on the payroll, if they need you to work on the defense side, they can do the paperwork to help you get a clearance. And there's not a question of, if they do the paperwork, will you still be here? because they have you on the payroll. So this is a way to work your way up, and these companies can offer opportunities. And one of the easiest ways to see of this, though, is just if a company seems interesting to you, go to their jobs listing and see if they have opportunities that do not require a security clearance or requires a secret. There's an opportunity right there, because when you see mixed technology, dual use technology, or a commercial government services aspect to the company, Unisys is such a company, there are opportunities to get in. Also, you may want to consider moving to areas with defense manufacturing. And by defense manufacturing, I mean that these are companies like, let's say, General Dynamics Land Systems, which builds combat vehicles for the military. And General Dynamics does many, many things. And if you go to work for General Dynamics Land Systems, that gets you within a defense company. And many of those jobs do not require clearances per se. That gets you in a defense company where you can look to grow from the inside and move through other parts of it. There are other companies you want to consider, such as Verizon Federal Network or Verizon Wireless. Verizon Federal Network Systems is part of Verizon Wireless. And Verizon obviously is the phone company, they're the cable company, they're the media company. So if you were to find a way into Verizon and you stay focused, HP is another such company. If you were to find your way in, then you can look to grow. And both are another example of dual use technology within companies or commercial government sector services within companies. And you can look also to join the government. I mentioned earlier about joining the military, but you could look to join the federal government as well. And you would want to do that by going to the usajobs.gov or usajobs.com website. Now, when you join the government, some people become frustrated because they apply, they hear that they may be considered, and then they don't hear from the government. Going to work for the government has the same level of frustration as trying to work for industry. The difference is sometimes government says, yes, we're going to consider you. They give you a letter of offer, and then you don't hear from the government for 4, 5, 6 months. No company would ever do that, but the government would. And the bottom line on that is they are processing your paperwork because you need a clearance to start. And that often takes up to 6 months, regardless of what clearance it is. Now, I'm going to summarize here because this today has been all about finding an open door, starting your career, whether you're restarting, crossing the street, or brand new out of college or not even out of college and you're looking to find an opportunity. Whenever you're starting anything, any job, any career, and you're not sure where to go, you often feel clueless. And so here's what I recommend. And I would just tell you, feeling clueless is normal. So get over it. There are ways to get beyond it, and part of that is doing your homework. One of the things I recommend is using what I call my Feeling Clueless worksheet. And earlier in the session, I talked about everyone needs to be able to outline their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you're going to get to do that using the Feeling Clueless worksheet. Take a piece of paper, and I recommend you do this with a friend or two, someone who's willing to look you in the face and say, you think that's a skill? No, you're not really very good at that. Have you considered? Okay? Make this a group effort with a couple of people you trust. So on one side of a sheet of paper, begin to outline your skills. Now, a skill is something that you have evidence that you're actually capable of, such as you can speak a foreign language. Not that you can, but you went to school, therefore you can. You have something on paper that shows you can. You have certification that you know networks. What is it that you can do that you have skills? Now, this could have been high school or college. Maybe you've studied, whether it's a major. Outline your skills. Now, on the other side of the piece of paper, what are your abilities? So you may not be certified in network administration, but you could take apart any Linux server or begin from scratch, and if all the parts are there, you could have it up and running within an hour or two. That is a major and a very impressive ability, by the way, that many people don't have. Perhaps you have studied literature for a particular language, or you just live for world economic policy, and therefore if someone wants to discuss energy, you have those abilities because you live in the literature, etc. Identify your skills and abilities. Then you want to begin thinking about users of you. Users could be companies, users could be organizations, users could be parts of the economy that need you. So down the middle of the clueless list, begin to list organizations such as, I know that these 5 organizations or companies or market segments need these skills and abilities, and then begin looking, drawing lines. This is a brainstorming session. You know, draw the lines between who needs you and who needs how many, because you may find, and as you see the chart on the screen, you may find that some of these need 6 of your skills and abilities. Obviously, that is a great fit for you in your next career job because it should be easy to sell yourself. On the other hand, you may have liked this particular company, but you find that you only have 2 or 3 things that may interest them. If you still want to get in that company, you're going to have to think about how you're going to sell yourself a little bit harder. So this has been a very quick how to do brainstorming with your skills and abilities, and always involve people that you trust to give an outside opinion and have them work with you, because many people tend to overlook their own skills and abilities, and as they say, 2 heads are better than 1, and if you can get a third in there, go for it. So this has been Bill Golden, and I hope that I've been helpful to you today to help you think about finding your way into industry. USAJobZoo.com, we have almost 100,000 jobs online every day in a wide range of skills within commercial industry, some in government, some in defense, across the USA. If you are a defense professional or you're looking to get into the defense industry, then we strongly encourage you to visit our DefenseCareers.com website. And both of these, USAJobZoo.com and DefenseCareers.com, are more than just a listing of jobs. They are blogs of information and all kinds of things that you need to know about finding your next career opportunity. One of those things, just to mention, is look for the little calendar icon at the top of every screen and click the calendar, and you're going to see a list of career fairs across the USA, sometimes overseas as well, but across the USA in a broad range of career fields. Check that out because you need to be out there selling yourself. This is Bill Golden with USA JobZoo and Defense Careers saying thank you for your time today. I hope that I've been of some help.